We have now arrived at yet another land of marvels, the realm of the flat earth. But before we enter this world, it is worth pausing to consider the Flat Earth Society, founded in 1972 by Leo Ferrari. Let us, however, step back further in time to 1956, when the Englishman Samuel Shenton established the International Flat Earth Research Society, IFERS. His writings and interpretations concerning the true nature of the Earth caused a stir and posed a threat that the proponents of the globe model quickly recognized. In response, they created, from behind the curtain, the Flat Earth Society, which sought to turn the matter into farce and ridicule, making of it a jest. Leo Ferrari, for example, would appear in interviews carrying a rock, claiming it was taken from the very edge of the Earth. He even asserted that he had once nearly fallen off that edge, were it not for clinging to that stone. They claimed that the Earth's rim cascaded in colossal waterfalls. When asked in a CBC interview about photographs of the Earth from space, images that depict it as spherical, Ferrari replied that, in light of the theory of relativity and the curvature of space, the Earth must necessarily appear round, and that such images were mere optical illusions. Thus it became clear that they argued with mockery rather than with evidence or reason. In short, their aim was not to lead humanity toward truth, but to draw it away from it with shallow explanations, as flat as the world they claimed. IFERS, however, was another matter. Their genuine research and evidence were presented in support of their model. After Shenton's death in 1971, the Society's headquarters moved to the United States under the leadership of Charles Johnson, who consistently warned against the Flat Earth Society, describing its founder, Leo Ferrari, as a false prophet muddying the waters of truth. Yet months before Johnson's death in 2001, his home was consumed by fire, destroying all of his and Shenton's research. IFERS ceased its activities, while the Flat Earth Society continued to promote its absurd and illogical interpretations, now through a website and an online forum. For 3 years, IFERS remained silent until Daniel Shenton assumed leadership. Wikipedia at times calls him the son of Samuel Shenton, at other times denies any relation. The latter seems more credible, for Daniel's course follows not IFERS but the Flat Earth Society, offering explanations that render the entire matter a parody. Among them was his claim that gravity is not a force, but rather the result of the Earth's disk accelerating upward at 9.8 meters per second. Such reasoning is either ignorance or a deliberate attempt to obscure the truth, for if the Earth were accelerating upward, nothing could take flight. He even declared that one who reached the edge of the Earth would simply fall off. We shall not linger on such inanities nor waste time dissecting each question put to them, nor the scientific refutations thereof. Let us instead turn to a single question that serves as the threshold to a greater inquiry. If the Earth truly is flat, why have scientists and space agencies deceived us? What is the purpose of this grand falsehood? Before seeking the answer, however, let us press further into the role of the Flat Earth Society itself. Though it appears the most prominent modern institution defending the Flat Earth model, true adherents to Flat Earth belief never cease to warn against it, suggesting, indeed, sometimes declaring outright, that it is part of the very conspiracy. They argue that space agencies and the architects of the lie knew that the secret would one day be unveiled. Thus, they devised a countermeasure, a society that would defend and promote the flat Earth with ludicrous, shallow arguments, so that any earnest seeker of truth would quickly conclude that the notion of a flat Earth is nothing but a joke, a comic absurdity. In short, the Flat Earth Society exists to discredit the truth of the flat Earth. And if you wonder how and why, it is because the world is not abandoned to chance, as you might suppose. Rather, it is governed economically, politically, culturally, scientifically, intellectually, and even spiritually. There exists a group, or perhaps several clandestine groups, that hold the entire world in their grasp. One cannot overlook the names that have flooded the media and the digital sphere in recent decades, such as the Freemasons, the Illuminati, the Knights Templar, Opus Dei, a Skull and Bones, a Zionism, the Priory of Sion, the Rosicrucians, and many others besides. These groups, or others laboring in obscurity, embraced the model of a spherical Earth and promoted it as the grandest deception in human history for two reasons. The first, which we shall postpone for a while, as it is nearly the essence of this entire book. The second is the plundering of nations. Take, for example, the American Space Agency, whose budget is estimated in billions. They delude the world into believing these billions are spent on space research, when in truth they are siphoned away. Thus, the true nature of the Earth we inhabit has been concealed deliberately for a paramount reason we shall soon unveil, and for another, lesser reason, the robbing of unsuspecting peoples. It is worth noting that those who hold this view are often dismissed as adherents of the so-called conspiracy theory. But what does that term truly signify? Imagine you are walking down a street when suddenly you stumble and fall. Such a fall could be explained in many ways. Perhaps you were distracted and failed to notice a stone underfoot. Perhaps your shoe heel broke by chance. Perhaps a sudden muscular spasm or a fleeting drop in blood pressure caused you to collapse. Each explanation could form a theory within the four main modes of thought we have already outlined: scientific, religious, philosophical, and superstitious. But suppose you suffer from a compulsive disorder, haunted by the conviction that someone is perpetually plotting against you. You would then believe that the stone was placed deliberately in your path, that the water valve was shut off just as you were shaving, that the air was deliberately let out of your car tire, or that the nail which punctured it had been laid in wait. In such a state, you would interpret every event through the lens of an unseen hand conspiring against you. This, in essence, is the idea of conspiracy theory, a term that gained currency around 1960. It denotes the tendency to explain events as the deliberate acts of unlawful or malevolent agencies, governments, organizations, or individuals. According to the political scientist Michael Barkin, conspiracy theories rest upon three principles. A nothing happens by accident. A nothing is as it appears. Everything is interconnected. Thus, the ruling elite have hidden from us a vast trove of truths, leaving us to wander in the darkness of ignorance. What little they allow us to know is but education devoid of genuine knowledge. Hence, belief in conspiracy theories predisposes one to interpret every occurrence in opposition to the prevailing, rational understanding of reality. In other words, the notion of powerful secret groups ruling the world is, at its core, but another conspiracy theory, built upon distorted comprehension. But what if I told you that the very term conspiracy theory is itself a conspiracy? That it was coined to make people doubt their own reasoning, exploiting the mind's tendency toward comfort, its readiness to believe whatever is fed to it so as to avoid the burden of thought. Thus, any evidence that contradicts an accepted narrative is dismissed as mere conspiracy, baseless and unworthy of consideration. Yet here we are on a journey unsuited to complacent minds. Those secret powers that govern the world can, indeed, be sensed by those whose intellects remain awake. Researcher Dave Murphy declares, "There are immensely powerful groups that control this world, while we remain their slaves. And slaves are not taught truth. They are merely instructed in what is necessary for their labor. They are taught only what equips them to operate machines and perform routines, but never the reality of what is unfolding. That is the domination imposed upon us. They know everything, while we know nothing, thus they rule over us. He continues, another thing about slavery, slaves are never truly freed. All of humanity has been enslaved. We are captives of mighty overlords, prisoners within invisible cages, the borders of nations. You require a passport, their permission, to traverse lands upon which you were born with a natural right to roam. These rulers have placed us within vast open-air prisons. You must seek leave to depart. We are the many, they are the few. They cannot govern us by force alone. So they seize our minds and hearts, reprogramming them to serve against us. It may sound like satire, an absurd jest, but shall we laugh further? Shall we follow the rabbit deeper into its warren? Very well, let us return to the flat earth conception. If the earth is not the familiar sphere we have been taught, how then do flat earthers envision its form? Is it a sprawling square, a rectangle, a triangle? And how does the sun vanish from sight upon such a plane? Let us begin with their perspective. Brace yourself, for from this point on, your intellect will face sharp blows. As agreed from the outset, free your mind entirely. Cast aside received ideas and mental conditioning. Imagine this. The Earth is a vast circular disk, like a plate. At its very center lies the North Pole. Its rim, meanwhile, is encircled by what we know as Antarctica. This icy continent forms the outer boundary, enclosing the disk completely. Does this not resemble the emblem of the United Nations? Yet note, well, this conception is not claimed to be a perfect model, but a provisional image to simplify and convey the idea. Now open your eyes and your reason, and let us begin to question the supposed self-evidence of Earth's sphericity. Let us, for the sake of argument, assume this disk is indeed the true form of the Earth, and proceed from there. Consider it closely. Does such an Earth appear laughable? Do not rush, true laughter lies ahead. If this is the Earth, why then does the water not cascade from its edges? Have you ever seen images of Antarctica itself? Likely, what comes to mind are the familiar scenes, penguins, explorers planting flags. But can you summon to memory images of its coasts? I suspect not. The reason is clear. Such images are rare. The common pictures show penguins and expeditions, but photographs of Antarctica's shores, towering, forbidding walls of ice, are scarcely known, for these are not beaches at all, but barriers. An immense ice wall encircling the terrestrial disk, retaining the waters, or perhaps an elevated rim of land and ice serving the same purpose, precisely like the raised edges of a plate. Once more, this is but a simplified picture. The true conception of the flat Earth differs in certain respects. Amusing, isn't it? If such were reality, then what lies beyond that wall of ice? Why not simply take a plane, fly across Antarctica, and reach the other side, thus silencing all doubts and proving that it is nothing more than the Earth's southern pole? Surely, countless researchers must have already done this. But imagine, it has never happened. Even commercial flights between Australia and South America, which could chart a shorter course over Antarctica, never do so. Instead, they follow elongated routes that skirt around. None has revealed what lies beyond the ice. No one has penetrated deeply into Antarctica or crossed it, for it is not merely a southern pole, it is the boundary of the flat Earth itself. The deeper one ventures, the farther one drifts from the sun, until engulfed in utter darkness and absolute cold. And this raises a puzzle. If it were truly just a pole of a spherical Earth, such a natural barrier would not exist. The explorer would quickly emerge on the opposite side of the globe, in sunlight and warmth. But again, this has never taken place. The grandest attempts were the 4 expeditions of Admiral Richard E. Byrd, accompanied by vast forces of soldiers, aircraft, and ships. Byrd claimed to have discovered a landmass the size of North America, uninhabited, with hot springs and mountain ranges, describing it as the far side of the South Pole. Yet this is illogical. The opposite side should be the Indian Ocean. This implies, astonishingly, that an entire continent remains undiscovered. Incidentally, that same expedition has often been cited by proponents of the Hollow Earth theory. Stranger still, after Byrd's final journey, Antarctica was sealed off entirely by international decree. In 1959, 8 nations with competing territorial claims signed the Antarctic Treaty System, ATS. They suspended their ambitions, and soon most of the world's nations acceded. Since then, no one may enter the continent freely. Access is restricted to select missions under international supervision. More curious still, in the wake of Byrd's voyage, both the United States and the Soviet Union undertook bizarre experiments, launching nuclear missiles straight into the heavens. In America, this was dubbed Operation Fishbowl, later renamed Operation Dominic. Some scholars note that Dominic means of the Lord, thus the full title of the program may be read as The Lord's Fishbowl. Researcher Dave Murphy suggests this hints at a profound possibility that Byrd had reached the very edge of the dome, prompting the superpowers to test at height with those operations. And what of this dome? As explained, Antarctica is envisioned as the barrier surrounding the disk of Earth. Beyond this wall lies a hidden realm. Its secrecy has fueled speculation that beyond the ice stretches vast, uncharted lands, bathed in the light of other suns. A boundless Earth immeasurable, with horizons no man has yet defined. Yet another perspective claims that the outer boundaries of Antarctica mark the beginning of an immense celestial dome, impenetrable to anything that seeks to pass through. In this view, we dwell upon a vast, flat plain, sealed by covering through which nothing may penetrate. This, they assert, was demonstrated unmistakably by Operation Dominic. The images of the detonations reveal that the rockets did not ascend into space as anticipated, but instead collided with a ceiling. Not a solid one, but rather a medium of another kind. It is strikingly clear from the photographs and video footage that the explosions expanded downward, not upward as customarily expected. Moreover, in the year 2014, a group of enthusiasts launched a rudimentary rocket fitted with a camera, which they named Go Faster. Upon reaching an altitude of 117 kilometers, the rocket came to a sudden halt, as though arrested by a ceiling that restrained it. Again, a ceiling not of solid form. But let us return to Antarctica and embark upon a free inquiry. Is it truly the southern pole of a spherical Earth, or the very rim of a flat expanse? Apart from such conjectures, there is a simple method by which to test it. One need only circumnavigate its entirety and measure its perimeter. Scientists maintain that its shoreline extends for nearly 20,000 kilometers, implying that any such voyage should record a figure close to that measure. Yet the earliest explorers who attempted this feat, among them Captain Cook and James Clark Ross, testified in their scientific journals that their expeditions consumed between 3 and 4 years, during which they traversed distances ranging from 80 to 96,000 kilometers. Such figures could only be possible if Antarctica's coastline were in truth an immense boundary encircling the whole of Earth. But if this were indeed the actual shape of the world, an expansive disk encircled by a colossal icy wall, and above us a ceiling that allows nothing to pass, then how did spacecraft pierce this barrier and reach the supposed outer space? Does outer space, in fact, exist at all? How then do the sun and moon move? How are day and night sustained? What of sunrise and sunset, and the turning of the four seasons, and the stars, the thousands of satellites said to orbit the Earth. Can all of this truly be a deception? And how could we, in a single night, dismantle everything we have been taught and known throughout our lives? Yet when we consider that the theories of Copernicus, too, were embraced overnight as scientific certainties, and that not even in the smallest detail was he thought to have erred, despite the absence of precise instruments in his time, then the tolling of alarm resounds within our minds. Thus we have reached the end of the exposition on the strange model of the flat Earth, as its adherents envision it. Prepare yourself, for what follows is yet more bewildering.